Welcome. Thanks for joining us today for Comforting Casseroles. We feel that we have a very exciting program for you today and some very interesting recipes. I just want to say we appreciate the opportunity to present another program. Grateful to have a great audience with us today. As it said in the introduction, casseroles are a great comfort food with a fascinating history and a great category for culinary inspiration and creativity. All of the recipes that we're going to share with you today, except for the one which is from Fanny Farmers, and there's a reason for that, are all tested and tasted at the MIT Endicott House and approved by our chef, Eddie Serrato. So these are all our own creations or variations from some basic casserole recipes. Today's session, we will cover the history of casseroles, traditions, some interesting cookware as we have out in front of us right now, shares traditional and creative recipes, some family favorites, and helpful tips along the way. Additionally, we have a special guest joining us today to share their favorite casserole story. So we're very excited about that. We want to also express a special thanks to MyTac and the partnership that we've had for over 3 years, and this is our 12th program that we're presenting to you today. We look forward to many, many more. And also with the bitter cold weekend, there's no better time to look at a hearty and hot casserole to warm our bodies up on those cold days. In speaking of casseroles, the dishes date back to ancient Greece. But the term casserole originates from the French term cassa, meaning pan or vessel. And vessel is going to be a word that we use throughout because it's very important in casseroles as they're known today in one's culinary expression. And they're generally deep and used for baking. And casseroles are traditionally served in the same dish that they are made in. Historically, earthenware was very, very common. And looking at the classical description, baked dishes have existed for thousands of years. Early recipes that tie in with casseroles consisted of rice, which was pounded and pressed and then filled, and the mixture was filled with a savory mixture of meats. And then in the mid-late 1800s, casseroles evolved into what the cuisine that we know today. In the mid-20th century, the one-meal dish was very common, gained popularity with the introduction of light metalware and glassware. So easy for people to bring in and out of the oven. They weren't very, very heavy dishes. And you also saw that in the introduction that of recent times, it has moved from processed foods as main ingredients to very fresh and vibrant and colorful and healthy items. So the actual definition of a casserole, what makes it a casserole, is the baking of mixed ingredients, generally a protein, starch, liquid sauce, or a liquid or a sauce or a cheese in order to bind that and bring everything together, hence macaroni and cheese. Today, there are numerous options to the typical meats, pasta, and a binder that you would historically see. Today, we see the use of fish, seafoods, and I'm going to share vegetables, legumes, grains, and even fruits as featured ingredients. So I'm going to share some of those in the recipes today. What started with basic has evolved into vibrant, as I said before, culinary creations. You can get very, very creative with making a casserole. The old standards that we know, green bean casserole, turkey or chicken pot pie, lasagna, mac and cheese, shepherd's pie, scallop potatoes, tuna casserole, and sweet potato pie are just to name a few of the very, very common and traditional casseroles that would be shared during holidays or very important family celebrations. So let's get started. The characteristics of what makes a casserole are three things, and I'm going to get to that. The first is we're going to have a set of trivia questions. We have 4 today, and we are going to select a winner from each a winner from each category that gets it right, and they will get one of our wonderful cookbooks, and we're going to talk more about the cookbook at the end, that we collaborated with MyTac as well as the MIT Women's League. So our first trivia question is, where are the earliest uses of cast iron pans? You can see I have a cast iron pan in the front. Okay, the majority of folks, I can't see the, I think it was what, 40-something%? China. It's China. I saw China, but with the largest, but what the percentage was. Yes, 44% China, and that is where it originated. Goes back thousands of years. And, you know, cast iron, I have a pan right here on display, is a wonderful item to make a casserole. And you're going to see one later on in the program today. So again, the characteristics is, first is the type of dish, what you're making, the ingredients. They're often hearty and meant to be comfort. It's a comfort food. And they are predominantly main dishes where they contain a protein, but also they can be used as a side dish. So I spoke before about the sweet potato pie, which a lot of people call a casserole. Is very common as a side dish. I'm going to share a couple of side dishes that I have created in our research. The method is they are baked in the oven. While most are one dish combining everything together, which I have a couple here today. Sometimes you have to prepare some of the ingredients like cooking macaroni for macaroni and cheese ahead of time, or sauteing your vegetables, or preparing your meats or fish a little bit ahead of time, scoring them before you put them in the casserole dish. Very common with chicken is generally chicken casseroles, the chicken is fully cooked. And then if you need to finish the dish on the stovetop, as the record shows, it is probably not a casserole. So again, casserole is defined by finished in the oven. And then again, back to the vessel or the container that you're using. There are numerous options in the container, and it's another area where we also can be very creative. And we have here a variety of pans. I spoke of the earthenware. I think our camera can pull over on one of these here. So this is an old earthenware dish that you would put your casserole in and then bake it in the oven. A couple of scalloped ceramic dishes, again, to be creative. The typical Pyrex, they created Pyrex, oven-tempered glass, can go in the oven, very, very common. Another scallop dish, another one over here, the cast iron pan, which is an excellent venue. And then this terracotta fish. Actually, my wife had gotten this one, and it really showcases well on the opposite side when you're storing it. But again, a seafood casserole can go in here and be very creative. Also another covered terracotta pot we have off to the side here. And then also the Dutch oven can serve as a casserole dish. So we have our next trivia question. What do Minnesotans call their casserole?
We call it hot dish, and everybody else calls it casserole.
Because it's hot and it's in a dish.
Good answer. I mean, why do they call it casserole? We should be asking.
That's right.
This is still a mystery to the three food historians I talked with today. But what we do know is the term hot dish was first used in a 1930 Mankato cookbook published by the Grace Lutheran Ladies' Aid.
I do call it hot dish.
WCCO.
There you go. So have you become a Minnesotan?
Oh, yeah.
4 News.
Casseroles, as with many other culinary creations, prep is a vital component. Your mise en place is the term of putting everything in place. And what I have here is the next item I'm going to prepare is an eggplant spaghetti casserole, which you can see everything is all portioned out. But starting off with, and that's another dish that we're going to do, but again, it saves you a lot of time. If you get all your ingredients, everything measured out, and it's ease of assembly, as they say. So as I mentioned, two of the most basic casseroles that are abound. So what we have here is our macaroni and cheese and lasagna. I think the lasagna recipe is up first. So this is a meatball lasagna. And you start with a marinara sauce. And again, I've got my bay leaves in there. And I've got a nice simmering marinara sauce here. And we shared this marinara recipe earlier on with our Lake Garden show back in September with fresh tomatoes from your garden. But again, you can substitute crushed tomatoes in place of the fresh tomatoes in the off season. So you have a good marinara sauce. Any good Italian dish, you have to start off with a very good tomato sauce. And so we have a triple layer of meatballs, cheese, as well as meatballs, ricotta cheese, and then the sheets of pasta. And so we have 3 layers, and then it's covered with mozzarella, fresh mozzarella cheese. Again, talking about the vessel, this is my wife's family's casserole dish, and she's made many lasagnas in this over the years. Again, nice little earthenware, rectangular, good shape. Here's a Pyrex dish with the Fanny Farmer macaroni and cheese. And again, I said before, we have taste tested all of these recipes. The Fanny Farmer mac and cheese is very, very good. And it's a really nice because it's 8 ounces of macaroni to start off with. So it's a smaller portion. You don't have to make a full box of macaroni, but very, very flavorful. So with that, I'm going to get into our first item, and that is making the eggplant and pasta casserole. So with that, I have our dish. I'm going to take some marinara sauce that we made today, lay that in the bottom of the pan. If you were here live with us today, the aromas are unbelievable. So I've had the pre-cooked eggplant here, and you're going to put a layer of eggplant in the dish, and so you can cut some up to kind of fill in the voids here. So I've got my first layer, and then I have a 4 cheese blend. And again, the recipes that we have, we're trying to, mix it up. And again, you could use the cheeses that you feel are of your liking or to your taste. So a little bit of layer of that. And for me, there's never too much cheese. And this is one of my family's favorites, casseroles. My children love, they're all grown now, and they love to come and enjoy this. And so I'm going to put in another layer of eggplant. And the eggplant is at about a 1 inch thick, 3/4 inch thick. We like it a little thicker. Again, a little bit more cheese, a little less on this layer because we're going to mix the next layer. A little bit of sauce just to keep it moist. Okay. Now, I've already taken the ricotta cheese, and this one is just plain ricotta cheese, if I remember correctly. The lasagna has the ricotta cheese with the eggs in it, and the eggs help bind it up. So what I've done is I've pre-mixed the ricotta cheese with some marinara sauce, and then gonna layer this over the top, toss that all in. And again, this would be one that you would pre-cook. You would pre-cook the pasta. I would suggest not a very thin pasta because again, you want it to cook with the eggplant. So I'm trying to level that off. Okay. And a little bit more marinara kind of soak in there. The pasta will, I want that bay leaf. It's good, not good to eat, but good to cook with. Okay, then my topping on this, so we have 4 cheese mixture, Parmesan, it's got mozzarella, Parmesan, Asiago, and I forget the 4th one that's mixed in there. Provolone, I just remembered. So that goes over the top. Okay, and that one is going to go off into the oven. All right, so that's our eggplant spaghetti casserole. You're going to see when it comes out and we cut it up. It's very, very interesting. And it's a combination of spaghetti casserole and an eggplant casserole. So it is quite interesting. One of our favorites, as I said before. And our next question is, this product, 40% of its sales is attributed to Thanksgiving. Majority of people said cranberry sauce, and that would be an excellent choice, but that is not correct. Cranberries are used for a lot of other things, including cranberry juice. It is the mushroom soup for that famous green bean casserole, and that was from Campbell's. For anyone that remembers the last show that Campbell's introduced condensed soups, and the actual nephew of Mr. Campbell was a graduate of MIT, and he was the one who discovered how to condense soups. If you remember back in the, not that we were alive then, but in stories, the soup cans were large in what they call commercially number 5 cans, or what you would see a can of Sacramento tomato juice, something of that size. He was able to condense it down. So the next recipe I want to share is looking at seafood, vegan, and vegetarian options make excellent casseroles. This is a seafood casserole. And again, you'll notice there's always a lot of cheese or breadcrumbs as toppings to a lot of these. So we worked at mixing it up. And I'll get to that. But we started out, this one, the recipe calls for flounder. We had some codfish in the refrigerator that came in, so we used codfish. A little secret on this one, you take the codfish, mix it with a little pepper, put it in the pan with a little bit of water, just a light amount of water, in the oven for about 5 minutes, and it will cook a little bit. While you're doing that, you would saute your scallops and shrimp. Just sear them as the recipe calls for. Take those off the pan, you deglaze it, and then you make your cream or bechamel sauce. And the first iteration of this, I made this in the kitchen downstairs, and Eddie, our chef, Eddie Serrato, was here, and he came over and tested, and he said, Mike, a pretty good bechamel. I hadn't made it in a long, long time, so it came back to me, but you can use a store-bought cream sauce, or you could use an Alfredo sauce in substitute for there if you want to go quicker, but the real traditional bechamel is wonderful. You mix all that together, a little bit of lemon juice, and toss that all around. And then what we did was we, in our VCM, our Robocoup Cuisinart, chopped up Ritz crackers, and that went over the top of that dish. That's one of the favorites of the staff here, so I don't know how long that one's going to last later today with the staff helping to clean up. And then today, vegetables play a significant role. Mushrooms being the most versatile. You see a lot of recipes always add mushrooms. In the next recipe I add in mushrooms to this. And then, you have a lot of options, and I'll get back to the mushrooms. So I have button mushrooms, I have portobello mushrooms, and baby bella mushrooms here on display. But again, a lot of wild mushrooms. Lion's mane mushrooms are also available. But I want to share with you folks today that we are in the development stage with offering a program in conjunction with MyTac, an in-person mushroom exploration tour with demonstrations on growing and cooking mushrooms, along with a luncheon naturally featuring mushrooms as part of the menu. It will be exciting. We're in development, as I said, so check out our website as well as MyTax and see when it comes up, the date and the outline of the schedule. But we wanted to share with you, in looking towards the future with this program, through some colleagues through MIT Endicott Beyond. Here is a mushroom dish. It's not a casserole, but I think it will really tempt your appetite.
Hi everyone, Sam Burgess here with MIT Endicott Beyond and City Mushroom Farm, where we're going to be making lion's mane mushroom steaks. This is a very unique recipe. I think you guys will like what you see, where we're taking this beautiful lion's mane mushroom, we're going to divide it into a few pieces and cook it over high heat. So right here we have beautiful broccolini. We're just going to very simply prepare, do a light chop just so it's not humongous pieces on our plate. Roast these in the oven at about 450 degrees. Some good quality extra virgin olive oil is always a great addition to any type of roasted vegetable. I'm just going to add a few plugs of that, and then definitely salt and pepper. So now we're just going to evenly distribute all that oil and seasoning. This will probably roast just about 10 to 15. We'll see how far along. So now moving forward, we're going to take our beautiful lion's mane chunk right here. We're just going to divide this into 4 even pieces. So just with this, you're going to want to take off the little bottom mycelium, just trim it away, just because it has a woody, not so delicious flavor to it. And yeah, we're just going to do our best to divide this into 4 even as possible pieces. You want to try and get pieces that can lay flat, so while we're cooking them, they actually have a surface area. So now we're going to take our saute pan. This is a non-stick skillet, and we're going to set it up on high heat. So we're starting to get hot in this pan. I think it's about time to add just about 2 tablespoons of avocado oil. We're going to add our mushroom pieces, and then we're going to flatten them. I'm using just a heat-proof dish and then another sandwich press right here, just to make sure that they really get weighted down. We're going to let these sear for just about 3 to 5 minutes on each side. Oh yeah, I'm going to flip these right now. Oh, beautiful. Look at that. You can see how much they're starting to shrink too. When we started, the pan was absolutely full. We're gonna start to add in cold butter. So while that butter is melting and getting delicious, we're gonna crush some garlic cloves. So I'm gonna add that, just like I added the butter, a few cloves of garlic all around. I'm also gonna add about 4 to 6 sprigs of thyme. You can start to hear that crackle. That's the thyme starting to impart its flavor. Looking good. Broccolini is looking fine. One of my favorite parts about cooking steak at home is just getting a little piece of caramelized smushed garlic. These are almost done. They're looking beautiful. I'm gonna grab my plate right here. I'm gonna go over, get some broccolini. Most importantly, you want to make sure that you season at the end. So don't be afraid of it. Don't over season, but definitely don't under season. A little bit of freshly ground black pepper. I'm just gonna serve these all together on a plate. Just one more on the side. I always like to just add a little bit of that garlic and thyme just right on top. And then any leftover butter. Instead of butter, you could also use ghee. That's another excellent option. Very flavorful. I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to dig in. So just a few radishes. Just to add a pop of color.
All right, welcome back. Well, if that doesn't tease your appetite, nothing will. I think that was a fabulous looking dish. Again, keep checking it out on our website. We're in development. My next recipe, I need a little larger pan. Make sure I don't make a big mess. So anyway, so the man on the side there's my trusty assistant, Corey Gillen, from the culinary department here. He's worked with me for 2 straight days on all of these recipes. So this one I'm just very excited about, and really this one came a long way from where we started out. It's a vegan dish, and we had it sampled by all of the staff here, and everybody just loved it. It's not something that is takes a back seat. So what we have, and again, my display here, the mise en place, everything's all ready. So we have summer squash. Gonna mix that in our bowls. We have asparagus, and again, you can use zucchini. There's a variety of vegetables you can use. This is a great dish to explore and create with different items. So we have mushrooms, again, one of our signature items. Red onions, not cooked, is the recipe here. And so we take all those ingredients. Okay, and we need some garlic powder. Right? Okay, and I believe some basil or a little bit of parsley. I'm trying to remember the recipe. A little bit of basil. Okay, add those spices right in there. Some black pepper. I don't think it may not have called, and a little bit of Himalayan pink sea salt. And then we have a vegan mayonnaise. So we take that, get all of that out of there. Okay. One of those guys that always loves to make sure I get everything out of the jar. You know, some of us old folks, a little persnippety, I guess is what they say. So you have all of that mixed together. All right. So you toss all that, okay, and you just get it all blended together. You can see that. You want to get a shot back on me mixing. So again, mixing all that together, and again, creative, many opportunities for a variety of vegetables. We're going to add some vegan mozzarella cheese in there. Again, that would be the binder. Toss that around. Back to the vessel. So I want to spray this pan with a little bit of oil spray. We use canola here. So I just want to coat that a little bit. Okay. And we're going to, lay that in the dish nice and neat. Whoops. Okay. Looks beautiful already. Okay. And we're going to throw a little bit more mozzarella cheese over the top of this one. And then we have the, oh yes, I knew I put it out here. Sorry about that. We have the gluten-free breadcrumbs. Okay, a little variety here. Gonna lay that over the top. I just level that off a little bit. Okay. Again, all of these items can be found in your local grocery store. They're not super special. So this dish is now off to the oven. And again, I cannot say it enough. It's a wonderful dish. It's just so flavorful, so tasty. I think everybody, vegan or non-vegan, will enjoy. So where does that take us now? So those are the main casseroles. And what I want to move into now, casseroles are not limited to the main dish. They can fill a supporting role in your dining. And there are many variations that you could do. I found a couple of very interesting ones. The first one was what we have already prepared here. And again, I did these in ramekins. This is a golden, delicious apple casserole. And again, light on the amount of sugar. and could be used as a side dish. So where I found this recipe, the chef that was promoting this, who created this, used this as a side dish with a dinner entree, say a roasted chicken breast or something like that. So again, a little different roll. 4 apples. It can be a dessert. And there's a wonderful covering with the brown sugar, nutmeg, and cinnamon over the top. And again, as you can see, just putting that on your plate, on your table, wonderful, nice dish, hot, is great. And that now I have one that's my favorite in all of the work that we did, is a Parmesan mushroom casserole. I found this and I've cooked this a number of times, and this is the one I'm going to get the critique from Eddie. So what I've already done here is I put together the mixture ahead of time in saving time, but you would saute your mushrooms with your olive oil. We put some chopped onions in there, some minced garlic, baby bella mushrooms, but again, you could use a variety, other mushrooms, or you can mix them together. You're going to add some all-purpose flour in there, some salt, and some sour cream. And so what I've done is already put that all together. All right, and so that is all ready to be baked off. So again, a casserole, this one is pre-prepared and mixed together and then placed in the dish for the final baking. So this goes back to the theory of not necessarily all mixed in and made. You have to pre-cook, and when you get to see this, and I really encourage everyone to try this. Everyone in my family, we tried this and just loved it. It was delicious. And again, changing the topping. So we did a panko breadcrumb, chopped parsley, and I could use a little bit more chopped parsley in this one here, and Parmesan cheese. The critique that we got from Eddie was a little bit more Parmesan than the panko, because the panko is a little dry. And so that would kind of cheese it up or soften it up a little bit. Just laying that out, and then we're gonna put that right over the top. Our sous chef, Paul Loretti, when I made this the first time, he made it early in the morning, and I made about 4 or 5 of them, and he had one for breakfast. That's how much he loved it. So I'm gonna pop that in the oven, and we're gonna turn our oven on. Okay. All right, and let that cook. Plus, how about a macaroni and cheese side dish or a lasagna? And our next trivia question is, according to the Taste Atlas, what is the most popular casserole? All right, so what's our answers?
60% say lasagna.
That's the number one? Well, those 60% are incorrect. It is baked ziti, which I have right here. Again, a wonderful side dish. Very often in an Italian restaurant, you ordered a nice ossobuco or a nice seafood dish. You get a nice side of spaghetti or baked ziti. Very, very popular. And the staff is going to enjoy those this afternoon as well. So staying with the vessel, I want to share with you, and I'm going to move this one over. Okay, very creative in the vessel. And casseroles are not limited to the dinner or lunch menu. Here is a frittata. We'll pull that recipe up. This is one my wife cooked on Christmas Day for her family, and everybody came over and put that out on the table. We're enjoying some nice juice and coffee and having a great conversation. I just love this. Now you can again look at options. You could take out the bacon and make it vegetarian, which we did, or you can substitute Canadian bacon. You could substitute sausage. You could substitute ham. So a lot of variety. This one is really nice. You cook off the bacon, if you're inclined to use that, or the sausage, the meat, put it in the bottom, and then you saute well, we have peppers and onions in there. You saute those lightly, and then you add in the baby spinach until it just kind of wilts down. You mix all that together, you put that in the pan, you add your egg mixture over the top, and then you put some goat cheese. So again, that's a interesting take. And this cast iron pan is from my wife's family. I believe it's about 100 years old. Again, you'd spray that with a little bit of oil spray in there ahead of time. But as we all know with cast iron pans, you don't use a lot of soap. Okay, soap is the devil to cast iron goods. So you clean those all out. And also if you're using cast iron, after you wash it out, put it back on the stove. I told you we were going to give you some helpful tips. You put it back on the stove and evaporate all the moisture. So it's dry before you put it away, let it cool down. So with that, that's a wonderful, and let's talk about breakfast. What could we create in breakfast? There's so much opportunity. So I have a bridge version here. I've got to cut a little bit of corners here. So I have a mixed berry brioche French toast. Okay? So I have, and again, the mise en place. So what I have here is I have our bread. Okay, the recipe is up there. I'm going to add our berries. Okay, do that. Okay, and this is a very simple one. So I'm adding our mixed berries, and again, you can be creative with all different kinds of berries. You don't necessarily have to use a brioche bread. You can use a regular bread. I've seen some people do a variation on this with French bread or Italian bread. Okay, then we have our egg mixture. Generally with this, you would make your mixture, add it in, and you would let this sit for a number of hours, but being on TV live, we don't have that opportunity. So we have that, and then we have similar to the apples, but a little sweeter. We have the brown sugar, nutmeg, butter, and cinnamon. And we'll get a good bunch of that over the top there. My trusty assistant, he likes a lot of, he's a sweet guy. Well, he's sweet too, but he likes his sweets. So we're gonna pop that off into the oven. Okay? All right, and so just going over all of the recipes, we have the lasagna. Meatball lasagna, you can make it without any meat. 3-tier, you can make 4-tier. We have the seafood casserole, a wonderful favorite of the staff here. We have the Fanny Farmer mac and cheese. That's one recipe I think is golden. We have the baked frittata. We have the golden delicious apples. We have our ziti. And then the product of how we go here, I have our mushrooms. I think I got everything. Fresh. A little trouble grabbing that one. A little hot. Okay. So we have our wonderful mushrooms. Close that up. I also want to mention, when I was talking about side dishes, casseroles are a wonderful, not all, but many casseroles are wonderful for preparing in portions, such as these tin pans that I have here. Portioning out, some you would have to pre-cook, some not necessarily, and have a good hearty meal with, on the go as we get home late on a hard-pressed work day. We can pull it out of the freezer early in the day before we leave, and then come home, and pretty much all of these casseroles are capable of doing that. So with that, I want to introduce our special guest today. But first, I will say, if you're not hungry by now, you're not a foodie, because we got a lot of wonderful stuff here. But more importantly, I want to introduce our special guest. If you want to come and join me right now, I have Diane Tavishian from MyTech, recently retired, but busier than she was before. Welcome. We're so happy to have you live. We want you to tell your story about your macaroni and cheese.
Well, first, thank you so much, Mike, for inviting me today. It smells delicious in here. My word, it's unbelievable. But the mac and cheese, the Fanny Farmer mac and cheese, is a variation of what my mom made growing up. And for us, it was, as soon as she brought out that beautiful vessel, which was a pottery with a brownish pottery with a little bit of blue swirl in it, I knew it was going to be a great day no matter what was happening, because the mac and cheese would be coming out of the oven soon. So it is those nice memories that you have. And I also have such great memories of my grandmother as well, making mac and cheese all the time for all kinds of dinners, and leaving a little bit of mac and cheese in the bottom of the pan just so I could sample it. And it is the best thing. I still do that now. I still take that little sample at the bottom of the pan. But it's, it is those nice memories, and just makes everything great, no matter what's happening in your world. So.
Well, that's what a comfort food is all about, right? Is to make you comfortable and bring back great memories in family history. So I have now the eggplant and spaghetti casserole. We made an extra for you in the honor of you joining us, an extra mac and cheese.
Wow.
So you're going to be able to taste that now. And then we have the vegan. And again, look at that one. I can't say enough about this. This is just a wonderful dish, and it allows for a lot of creativity, a lot of exploration. And again, very healthy. So Diane, I invite you, let me step past you here. And what would you like to taste?
Everything looks delicious. Oh my!
You have to try your mac and cheese.
A little mac and cheese. And I do have to say that I'm actually like lactose intolerant. So, but I still treat myself to a little bit of mac and cheese, because I figure, oh well.
There's some mac and cheese. Now.
And this recipe is
so we're gonna have you taste the vegan as well. There's the utensils right there. Okay. So again, this one here, because this is your lactose intolerant, so we'll put a little of that on there.
Which one's this one?
This is the vegan vegetable, and this is the Fanny Farmer, which you're going to get to take some of that home with you tonight.
Oh,
so you go back home and say, oh, I not only got to share my story, but I got to enjoy and share it with your family. So this one, I do want to show everyone. Enjoy.
I was just going to say, as Mike was saying, the mac and cheese casserole is great to freeze. I've done it many, many times. So even if you have a big lot of it, I usually do double. You have mac and cheese that you can take out on another cold day when you really need something warm and toasty.
Now here's a picture of the eggplant. It just came out of the oven. You would let this sit for about 10 or 15 minutes. But again, if you look at, you have the spaghetti portion on the top, and then the eggplant underneath. And that's I'm gonna let my trusty assistant be able to sample that. He's been dying for that all day. There we go, my trusty assistant. But I do want you to taste one more thing, and I'm gonna taste it as well, Diane. Is this, because I want you to tell everybody you're gonna give your honest, unabridged on the mushroom. That has sour cream in it. So you may just want to be a little light on that, because I know you have a lactose.
And this one is dairy-free.
Yes, that one is all dairy-free.
Okay.
So with that, so this is the best part of the day.
Yeah.
We get to enjoy.
This is a treat. This is a treat.
Well, it's a wonderful treat to have you here with us today.
It's
And
really
it's been, I'm
something.
sorry to reach, but our set is a little small. So here's the mushroom, and I love this one. This is just,
Wow.
Mm.
Great.
the Parmesan and
Right.
everything mixed together is just wonderful. So with that,
Wow. That's great.
I have to go back to my work. I can't keep eating. So all of these dishes here, so I want to share with you that we have the cookbook that was a collaboration with the MITAC and the MIT Women's League. And so we have, we're selling these cookbooks. You can order them online. There's a variety of places on campus where you can get those. And so we have been so successful with this that we paid all of the cost for this. And now any book sales will go to our charity that Diane has promoted, has featured for us. And you tell us about the charity.
Yeah, it's Project Restore Us. So that's going to, give back to the community with some food insecurities and things like that. So it's a very great nonprofit, and the cookbook itself is so fun and phenomenal recipes. So it's a win-win. It's really a win-win, and at a very reasonable rate.
Recipes from all over the MIT community
Yeah,
collaborated
exactly.
on that. So you're gonna see some names of colleagues of people that you know, people that you don't know that you may want to get to know after you taste their wonderful dish that they provided for the recipe book. So with that, we will open up for questions and comments or discussion. I see the first question I have question is quiche considered a casserole? No. Quiche is considered a savory pie by the experts in the culinary world. And also a strata is considered a souffle. So just remember that they don't qualify for this, even though they're wonderful, wonderful dishes. So any other questions, Jen, that we have?
Yes, so someone asked, how is the scalloped apple dish different from an apple crisp?
It has a little less sugar, and it's not, it's sauteed, the apples are cooked more prior than baked in the oven, with apple crisp is more raw and baked in the oven as an apple crisp.
Next question, can you freeze all of the casseroles that you made today, especially asking about the seafood casserole?
Right,
so how long do they last in the freezer?
Okay, so all right, that's a very, very good question. So you could, the mac and cheese you could freeze prior to baking, the lasagna as well, the apple crisp, the baked ziti as well, the eggplant and pasta dish, sorry about that, raw as well. But the seafood dish, you would have to cook that pretty much all the way. I wouldn't want to have raw seafood in the freezer. And again, it depends on how you seal it. One of the great gifts I got this holiday season from my kids was the Food Saver vacuum machine. And I think part of it was intentional because I've been sharing stuff that I've been so excited about the unit. I've been vacuum sealing all this stuff and handing it out. I vacuum sealed some soups and so on. So if you have one of those, that's going to give you a longer time. I wouldn't, not vacuum sealed, I wouldn't go more than 3-4 months. Vacuum sealed, you go probably 6 months. Again, because if you don't have that vacuum seal, you're going to introduce, especially on a freezer that's a defrosting freezer, you're going to dry things out relatively quickly. But again, it's how you package them and get them sealed. So these metal containers are probably good for cooking, but I'd wrap it in some heavy plastic around, or plastic bags, or I would vacuum seal right around that for a double protection. So I hope that answers the question. I'm gonna have a little more mushroom if you don't mind.
And last question was, can you make a frittata recipe with egg whites instead of regular eggs?
Yes, you can. It's going to look very different. And with egg whites, if you whip the egg whites, it's going to froth. So it's going to have a different look and different texture. That would be something if I was doing, and I was doing that without the yolks, I would do maybe 2 or 3 eggs in a very small dish, like this casserole dish or this one, and then make it with the ingredients just to test it out to see how the cooking temperatures, cooking times, that's one you're going to have some experimenting with. So that could be a challenge, but it can be done. And eggs, today are quite an expensive commodity. So you want to get the most out of your eggs. Any other questions?
That was all.
Wow. So we had a great audience today. I hope you enjoyed the show. I am so appreciative of Diane taking the time. It's hard to get retirees to get out. They're so busy with all their stuff to get out and come and see us and participate in this. And I hope you enjoy the recipes. And again, we had a great time doing the show today, but even more fun in all of the collaboration amongst all the folks here in modifying these recipes to something that we really feel is good. Except for the Fanny Farmer. That's an original, not to be touched. It is
great.
It is fabulous. My grandsons loved it. They thought it was great.
It's just a winner, and the sharper the cheese, the better.
Yeah.
So.
Extra sharp.
Extra sharp, yeah.
There you go. Well, again, on behalf of Diane, MyTech, and all of us at the MIT Endicott House, we thank you for joining us. We hope to see you live, and we hope to be able to do some more programs. I have a question out there.
There's one last question.
One last question. And it has to be somebody that knows us well.
Is there any noticeable, hang on.
Oh, we got another one.
No, people keep chatting, so it went away. Hang on. Is there any noticeable difference with heat conduction among the various vessels in terms of materials, cast iron versus Pyrex, for an example?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There is a definite difference, as you can see. Cast iron will hold the heat very, very much. As you can see, these were baked. This ceramic dish and this frittata were cooked at the same time. We got a more golden look out of this, so there was retaining more heat being cooked at the same time in the oven together. So again, your vessel is going to be a heat conductor, depending upon some ceramic dishes, like the ones, if you could pull that one over here, that red one, you want to be very careful. And if you're going to use ceramic, you want to use very good. These are commercial grade that we use in our operation, but I'm not going to give you any brands, but some knockoff brands that you get are going to have metal alloys inside, especially the ones that are made in China. Because I had an experience one time, we had a plate that I put in the microwave and pulled it out, and generally, a glass plate, ceramic plate is not hot. It was piping hot, and it burned my fingers because it had metal alloys in it, so it fills it up. So that you want to be very careful with. If you're going to make a good casserole, have a good dish. I mean, this is, I think, a Rachel Ray. These are Mary Von Schappe's. We had, again, our staff has helped share some of these that are, this is quite old family heirloom. So you want to have a good dish. I would be careful to get knockoffs. And again, if you're going to have, especially the small ones, get good ramekins or good casserole dishes. What happens is they will, if they're not of good quality, you're going to have them in the oven, and all of a sudden they're going to bust. They're going to snap because of the heat conduction. So long-winded answer, which is typical for me and some, as everyone knows, but wanted to be helpful. So another question?
That's it.
I'm glad we had so many good questions. I'm so glad you could join us. And again, I can't say it enough. We're so happy to have Diane here with us and sharing this event. And as I say at the end of each of these, thank you very much and bon appetit.